Hi, I'm Margaret Hadfield. I'm an Australian professional artist. My videos are intended to give you a really good grounding and also to enhance your existing art practice or to help you on your way as a total beginner. It is not necessary for you to have previous experience. I teach across all mediums and I'm really happy to share my experience and my knowledge with you. Participating in the creative arts provides health and well-being benefits which everyone can use. I regularly connect with my community via Facebook and I share my students' creations as well as my own. Thank you to my Patreons, and remember to like and subscribe if you wish to see more of my videos as I release them. Thank you. Keep calm and paint.
I got some plants that I put in pots, a money tree for luck and forget-me-nots.
Hi, it's Margaret Hadfield here. This particular lesson, which is the fourth lesson, is probably one of the most important lessons in my opinion, because it talks about, well, I talk about perspective, and perspective in architectural sense, which is really, really different. Last time I did do oils, I talked about perspective in the landscape, and this is perspective in the architectural sense, internally, just inside rooms and objects that are square and rectangle and windows and doors that can often throw people, and nothing looks, it looks, you know, it doesn't look good when you get a building wrong and you get the doors and windows wrong, the roof line wrong. So the thing to remember with perspective, architectural perspective, it's about you and where you are positioned and your perspective. So we all have a different perspective, whether I'm standing and sitting, so you don't change position. But I've kind of learnt the hard way by having to do murals and trompe-l'oeil murals, trick of the eye murals, having to make things look really realistic, so realistic you feel like you were there. And so that has taught me to get a really good grip and a good understanding of architectural perspective. And so perspective in the landscape is one thing, but you know, when you have a structure, it's a little bit more tricky. So I come into this room here because it's a good situation, it's a good space where you can see lots of paintings, lots of objects, or the wall and the lines of the wall, which is really is you really have to see what's going on and see the lines, how they're converging. Invariably people get doors and windows quite wrong with houses, and they don't fully understand what's going on. So I'm hoping to really unlock some of those things for you and make it a little bit easier. And I wish I had someone to teach me, but I've had to learn it the hard way. So I hope this helps, this bit of an exercise. So I'm here in part of my gallery, and I have a corner of the room here, which is, you can see a corner here. I'm standing, I've got this perspective of where I'm at. So you've got to trust your own eye. You have to trust your eye like you never have before. Your brain actually does get in the way. So you kind of got to be a bit more blonde and just don't think too much, because if you overthink it, you'll get it wrong. So your brain does get in the way. So I'm going to start off with the corner of this room. So I'll just do a line down there. So that's my corner that I'm seeing here. And at the top of the wall, I have to shut one eye, because you've got two different visions out of your eye. You have to shut one down, and you'll just get a cross-eyed vision of this pencil. So I shut one eye and I move my pencil. It's actually a solid charcoal, and go that way. I'll just double check that, it could be wrong. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so you may not see it exactly like I'm seeing it, but this is, you can see my process at least. And I shut one eye again, and I'm doing the floor and the wall. And now I'll do the other wall. And so it's a good idea to kind of really look before you move. So you can see there, I have that line. Doesn't matter if I'm a little bit off, but it just shows you. See, if I move that way or that way, I'm getting a different, if I go down that way, I'm getting a slight difference as well. So I'll just double check that. That's good. And now I'll do the floor to the wall this side. So there we are. I'll just check that again because I could have wobbled. There we go. Yep, not bad. A little bit of a bend there. All right, so that's the corner of this wall. Now your brain knows that all these walls and paintings are rectangles and squares, but they are now rhomboid shapes. So I'm standing upright. I'm standing here, around here. I'm a little bit higher. And that line is the straight line, which is my eye line through there. Now I like to use this particular area because of the brickwork. So what's happening with the brickwork is that each one of these rows of bricks is slowly turning like this. Probably turned a bit too much, but there we are. And then below that line, which is I'm calling my eye line, I think my eye line's probably a bit higher, but this is just the exercise. So now below my eye line, they're all slowly turning the other way. And that's why brickwork is a really, really good place to start with this. I'm pretty well. There we are. So you can see above my eye line, they're all turning this way. Below my eye line, they're all turning back the other way. Now, if that wall continued through and went on to the street, they're going to continue this way. They're going to continue and actually meet up on that line. So that's where they will converge to, which comes back to your eye line, which is amazing. You haven't had to think about that before until you get to do a building or a structure like this. So your eye line becomes important, and seeing how these lines all converge to what is your eye line. I find it quite fascinating, but I'm probably a bit weird. This one here, same story, will come down and will meet on that eye line as well. So that's the point of perspective. So it is quite interesting. Now, I have got a painting there, which is, say, sitting fairly close to the corner. I'm going to position it, say, there. And you can see it will still follow that brickwork line. That painting's a bit more square, but there it is there. And the same thing running here as well. So I've got another painting over here, and it will be a little bit less turned and a little bit less turned there as well. So you can see they could be hung crooked, but this is basically just something for you to remember to get your head around. Now, it's so imagine that's a window or that's a doorway. So you have to, think about each one of those lines changing where they're positioned. And the interesting thing is, you probably can't see here, but what happens here is if I turn my head and look at the wall this way, guess what happens? It starts to flatten out. So, and that can drive you insane. So it actually becomes a wide angle view. So if I look at the wall that way, it's actually going to straighten. And if I look at the wall that way, it's going to converge back down again. So That's complicated. Generally, we look at a corner and we look at one particular spot. And so you don't kind of do a wide angle view of a room. You just do a one viewpoint, I suppose. I've tried this in the past and it just doesn't work. It might work on a camera, but trying to do it in a painting is unbelievably strange to do, and it just doesn't work. Not successful. So, as I said, I've had to learn this the hard way because of doing murals and doing trompe-l'oeil. I can't say it properly, it's a French word, trick of the eye. And so to actually make things look really realistic and an understanding perspective like this. So the other issue is flat down on the floor. So I might put I might put a pretend mat on the floor. I've placed what I'll call it a mat. It's just a painting. It's a board, but let's say it's a pretend mat. And so I have placed on the floor in here. And so it's now become a rhomboid, a real rhomboid shape. So again, I will shut my eye and I've got that one going that way. So let me double check that. See, even if I move, I can get a different angle. It looks pretty good. And the one on the other side should be a little bit less than that one. So just hang on, let me get that one. I'll try that again. Yep, looks good. And it's a little bit out from the wall. So it still should be a few millimetres different. So those parts there are a little bit closer to the wall than that there. I'll just get this last side. Again, I have to shut one eye. Oh, doesn't look right. Just a little bit further. Whoops. There we go. Oops. Okay, so I knew that was wrong, that one, because this side is closest to me. This side has to be wider than that side, because again, these lines will go off and meet each other. I think they're going to meet each other on my eye line, which is on that line. And these two here also go off and meet each other, and probably on my eye line as well. But I have got it sort of nice and neat there. But the thing is, this is the closest point here. And so it's not as a rectangular shape. And your brain knows it's a rectangular shape. Your brain knows, well, that one's actually a square, that one's a rectangle. And you almost have to shut down your thinking brain, because you have to trust your eye and trust your vision like you've never trusted before. You have to use that pencil and sit it on that line and believe that pencil, because your brain it interferes like you wouldn't believe, and it tells you something that you're not seeing. So the visual aspect is different to the physical aspect. So just keep that in mind. It will help a lot to, I'm standing at an easel. It's quite easy to go like this, but to have that all upright. But I hope that sort of helps you to understand how to achieve this. And if there's a chair there, or a box there, or whatever is in your room or your situation that you're doing, this hopefully will help. Now, when you're looking down the street and you're seeing buildings, have a look at how they're all turning. That could be down the street, and you've got a awning there and windows there. So it's all related to you and how you see it. And if you're in the middle of a city, you might notice how it feels like if someone spat out the window of the hotel room or whatever, if they dribbled or threw something out the window, it's going to fall on you, when it's actually way over there, because there's this optical illusion of the buildings heading towards you. So I'll just get another piece of paper. So it's interesting, when you take a photo in the city and the buildings are are all, they feel like they're going like that. Okay, so, but when in actual fact, they're actually converging to where you are standing on the street. If you took a photo, you'll probably see that. But you know, physically they're not, of course, and they're straight. But when you take a photo or you're looking, they feel like they're actually coming towards you. And so it's just this optical illusion happening as well. So you just got to just think about those things, and trusting your eye as well. So it all starts to fit. You know, sort of when you have steps. Say you're doing steps, you may see the top of a step. Let me just see, top of a step there, that's the next one. Each one you're seeing a little less because you're getting higher up. So we're seeing less of this part. But, or it could be flooring. So your flooring, your tiles will be going, and there'll be one that's on your eye line that way. So it really is trusting your eye like you've never done before. If you're out on, say you're on the beach and you're looking out to the ocean, you see, well, if you put your hand out, your finger out on the ocean line, you will see that the sea itself is actually on your eye line, something you've never thought about. So if you stand there and put your finger out on your sea line, and people will think there's a whale out there or something, but you're actually you're just testing and seeing if Margaret's right. And so that line of the sea is on your eye line. If you're in the desert, if you're on the flat plain somewhere, that horizon is on your eye line. So it's remarkable. You hadn't thought about it before, but you know, that's why I'm taking you there. Also, if you're laying down on the ground, horizon still on your eye line. You're always going to have that much space from the side of your face to the eye, so you're never going to be dead straight down there. There'll always be a little bit. And the other thing that impacts also is your shoe. When you do a portrait and say doing someone life size, when you're looking at someone's foot, it's, I'll just turn this again, doing a lot of scribbling. When you have when you're looking at a shoe of a person, I've actually got a big portrait here standing near me. It's called Lauren Jackson, and she's got her foot, and the heel is here, is up higher. It's not a very good shoe, by the way, but I'm just saying that the heel is sitting up higher because we're looking down on it, and we never see a foot straight on the ground like that. Only an ant's eye view would see that. We will always have the heel back here, all right? So always, it just doesn't work any other way. So it's just, just the vision. So yeah, just really looking at those sorts of things to, and it all starts to make sense, because in that little distance there, from there to there, it's only like, I don't know, the length of a foot, and already it's going up like that. So the floor in here, we know it's flat, it's dead flat, but hello, it rises, and you can see here that the wall is way back up here, so even though it's physically flat, a flat floor, visually it's rising up like that. So the wall behind us is up here, even though this is all flat. So it is a weird thing, but you'll have to confront it perhaps sometime if you are painting or drawing and thinking about having to do perspective in certain situations. There might be issues like doing a garden setting, like doing steps, doing roads, buildings, certainly old buildings. All this stuff will come into play, and I just suggest you trust your eye and shut down that overthinking brain, and I do like to say, be a bit of a blonde, you know, just don't overthink it, because you have to really observe and really look and see and trust that pencil, trust your eye in this situation. All right, and so I might move on to cylinders and round objects, because weird things are going on with that as well. Well, the next issue, or the next part I'd like to discuss with you is cylindrical objects and circular things, cylinders basically, round objects. The different things are going on with that as well that involves perspective. So I would like to use the thought of a column. Now this is not very straight. Basically, just think of a column, and we are looking here. So when you see the base of the column, of course, each one of the rungs, as it drops away from your eye line, becomes more round. Would you agree? So, okay, up here, same. Each one of these rungs become a little bit more round as it goes away from your eye line. So again, it comes back to your eye line. And if there was a column that started here on the eye line, so say I was laying down on the concrete there, and these are that way, and then this one's straight, and then a slight turn, a bit more of a turn, and a bit more of a turn. So where you are positioned, your eye line, again, is so important. And as things drop away from your eye line, the circle becomes greater. So this is tricky if you're doing pots and pot plants and all that sort of thing. Different things are going on as well, just to trick you up. And so you can see I've got a few jars, pots here. And the eye line is probably here on that line. I can see a little bit into there, and a little bit more should be visible in there. So this is not quite as good as it could be, but I'm learning all the time as well. So I just want you to remember that. That's a good place to remember cylinders and round objects. So I now use a bucket. So you know that this bucket is parallel lines here. You know the shape of this bucket all too well. It's got holes in it as well. It's a lovely rusty bucket and a great one to paint or draw. But this is where it starts to confuse your mind, because you know that they're parallel lines. But if we go to draw it, it's not parallel anymore. It changes. So I'm going to put the bucket over here. Might pop it up on this tall stand there. And I'll do a drawing of the bucket. I'll pop that on there. So from where I am, so you're not actually probably not seeing exactly the same as I'm seeing it. So bear in mind, this is my perspective. So where I am looking at the bucket is rounded, slightly rounded there. Got my sides. I'm not going into details. I'm just getting the shape of the bucket. Now it's just, oh, gee whiz, it's on my eye line. It is dead straight across there. That's great. I'm not worried about the details. It's possible there's a little bit more bend, a little bit more curvature there. And that's the bucket now, visually. When we know we know physically it's parallel, but visually it is not. So I'll do another one. I'll bring it down. So now I can see inside the bucket. So now I have a bucket that's like a flying saucer shape. So when I'm drawing, I do lots of lines, and there we are, until I feel a bit more sure. So this is the lowest point here, that's the highest point there. Now one of the things is can throw you also in doing cylinders like this, open circles, is it's very easy to do like a pointy end, but you can see there's a gorgeous roundness on the end of the circle. So I'm seeing that much. Perhaps, yeah, if I go up that way, I'm probably a little bit wide. So now I've did the sides, and now I have a greater circle here. So remember the column. So now it's much rounder around the base. So that circle and that circle are different. Now there's something else going on here. This part of the bucket is actually further away. So guess what? This is flatter than that one. So that one has a little bit more circle to it than that one. You have a look. I know you won't find that believable, but as things are further away again, this one's further away, it has a little bit more of a circle around it. And yeah, that's a little thing too. So imagine yourself painting or drawing a cup and saucer or a jug or anything. Remember, the top and the bottom are not the same. And the rear side is going to be a little bit rounder than the front side. That's pretty amazing as well. And you'll now notice how many people get that wrong. It is amazing. So, as I said, think about this part being much more round than that part. Now the next one down, I'm going to go onto the table. There we go. So now I'm looking right into the bucket, and I've got a much greater circle. So I'm probably a bit hard to get it nice, probably around there, a much more open circle. Again, that should be more round than that one. That'll do. And then the sides, I'm not looking for perfection, I'm just showing you here. And then this circle is going to be much greater than that circle. So much more round here. And then we'll do one more down on the floor over here. Got that in there. And I might get another piece of paper. So I can just see the bucket, but much more round. Sort of, it's a bit further away. So, and then the sides, and this will be greater. So this is, yeah, just something to remember when you're doing round objects. It will throw you. I've gone a bit long there, but that doesn't matter. I'm just showing you the idea. And so just keep that in mind when you're doing round objects. This part here is different to that one, and this circle's different to that one. So it's just a little thing which I've happened to have to know when I'm doing things to look realistic. And when you start to see, it's like an awakening. You really start to see how many people get that wrong. So I hope that helps you with with doing objects like this. And yeah, so think about perspective all the time. Chairs, tables, things that you'll be using, pots and pot plants and garden settings. It's extraordinary how that opens up a whole other world for you to paint or to draw. It's quite exciting. It's limitless what you can see around you that becomes an inspirational thing to paint or draw. So I hope that answers a few questions, and I find not everyone gets this easily. Not everyone understands it straight away, and it might just take practice. It always takes practice, and I feel, you know, the more you do this stuff, obviously the better you'll get. Just one little trick also I want to share with you. When you're doing I've got a vase here. When you're doing something round like that, it's also a good idea to do a central line right in the middle, so that you can get the sides even. Can you see how that much easier that would be? This one goes like that, but if you have just draw a central line, you'll have much more chance of getting both sides even that way. So just another little trick. I use that also when I'm doing portraiture. I'll do a central line through the middle of the head or the face, or through the nose. I'll put a central line in just to give the structure. So that's another little trick for you. I have a painting here where I really do have, it's a good example of perspective, architectural perspective. And this incidentally is from Devil's Island, if anyone knows that place. It's pretty horrific. But I just love the shadows and the light play. But again, it's got all this perspective involved in this painting. And I also want to show you that I use a little thing, which I've made it up, blue tack string on either end. So what I do is I might attach my blue tack there. I don't know if that's the right spot, but we'll see. And I'll use the string line. See there? That's my line for the bottom of that wall. And then it may not, it's big piece of blue tack, go the other way, a little bit off. And then the other way, up here. Yep, you can see, hallelujah, that one works as well. So all my lines come from that spot. See that? So that's a really good little tool, bit of blue tack and string, and you can see, I can then go to that one and various parts. So it's just a little thing I've devised to help with perspective. My eye line of perspective is obviously just there, and I'm able to use the string as a device. So that's just a little hint for you. And so yeah, it's an amazing thing to do internal parts of buildings, particularly one with history like this. And you can tell stories and add into it. But yeah, I hope that helps you as well. Bit of string, bit of blue tack, and there you go. All right, thank you very much. Thank you to all my subscribers and Patreons, and also to DJ Gosper for allowing me to use her wonderful music. Keep calm and paint.